Okay, so thank you everybody for being patient. I was going to stream off my computer so that it's not terrible, but I have to use my phone because my computer can't handle streaming because it doesn't have a good graphics card and it doesn't have enough RAM. But that's besides the point. So we are here to kind of go over Hurricane Florence and what's going on with it and yeah, how it's doing. So we're on tropical tidbits right now, and um, let's just go straight to the satellite so you can get an idea. So it's been on a little bit of a weakening trend. A category 3 just yesterday morning, and it's dropped to a category 2 with 105-mile-an-hour winds. So you can see in the first few frames there's not really an eye visible, but it looks like an eye and a an inner core starting to develop again. So things are kind of starting to get a little bit more organized, but there's not going to be much time for that. And wind shear was eating away at this system. So if that wind shear wasn't here, it could be much more significant. As a brief kind of overview of this, this isn't like going to be a super brief stream or anything, but um, no matter how strong it is at this point, no matter how strong the winds are, it's a big system. You can see the convection stretching from Maryland and Virginia all the way down to Georgia. So you have massive amount of water being pushed onshore at this point that can't really be stopped, no matter what the winds are. So you're going to have storm surge flooding along this area. I don't know how well you can see my cursor, but right along this area, you're going to have significant storm surge flooding. The strongest winds are going to be around here, in this region right here, and you can see the eye wall is it's starting to flare up and starting to get pretty close to the coast. So there have already been reports of wind gusts nearly 90 miles an hour right around southern Outer Banks and Morehead City. They've brought down some power lines and trees. There's already a lot of storm surge flooding going on. I would recommend if you want to see any like live video of people in the field, like people from the Weather Channel and stuff. Yeah, just go watch the Weather Channel or any major news network or any storm chaser that you might prefer. So yeah, you've pretty much got this system's weakening and it's heading generally west southwest at like 5 miles an hour. But you do have this new convection, and this is going to set up for very heavy rain along the Carolina coast and even inland. So we could be talking about high rain totals near Raleigh and Kinston and Wrightsville and basically all these big places. So yeah, so let's kind of go take a look at the modeling, see what it has it bringing, see what it's kind of bringing it in as. I mean, at this point, modeling is not the most useful thing because the hurricane's just so close to the coast, but it can be useful to see will it maintain its um, status as a hurricane or not. So you can kind of see it right here. GFS bringing in as a Cat 2. It just hugs the coast. I mean, this is the Euro, not the GFS. I mean, there's nothing really to it at this point, model wise. I think really the significant storm surge is going to be along the Carolina coast, North Carolina coast, with potentially up to over 10 feet of storm surge, which is already starting to take an effect. So let's look at the National Hurricane Center real quick. So here's Florence right here, right off the Carolina coast. And let's look at probability of wind speed. So here's a little map. So the areas in pink are pretty much the areas guaranteed to get tropical storm force winds, and then it goes down in percentage, so on and so forth. So like DC, they're in a 5% chance, and this is basically saying that the winds would be 2 minutes sustained. So by tropical storm force winds, This isn't saying like a brief gust. This is saying for a certain period of time, there is a 5% chance, let's say, of 2 minute or 1 minute. That's actually what this map is. 1 minute sustained winds of 39 miles an hour or higher. And you can see it's pretty much concentrated from Raleigh off the coast down to Wrightsville, Myrtle Beach. Wind damage is possible, but it's not going to be the main threat. Let's see. Tropical storm, hurricane force winds. Here we go. This is what I want to show. Hurricane force winds. Obviously, it's basically near 100%. And look how big that swath is. You don't usually see. I mean, in hurricanes, usually you don't have hurricane force winds, especially with a system this weak. You don't have hurricane force winds extending super far out, but this storm has hurricane force winds extending nearly 90 miles from the core, and you can see almost still 180 to 100% chance near Wrightsville and all this stuff. Then you have like a 40 to 50% chance Myrtle Beach, Charleston. You're getting down to 5% chance. The Outer Banks, you're in between 10 and 40%. Now, that's not saying that somewhere down here could get some crazy band that goes off the main storm and brings a wind gust of 75 miles an hour. And that's not saying that that couldn't happen for Virginia Beach, but it's significantly unlikely. Just like with the tropical storm force winds, let's say here in southern PA for the tropical storm force winds, we're not in any percentage for it. But that doesn't mean that over the weekend a rain band won't come in and might drop a 39 mile an hour wind gust or a 40 mile an hour wind gust. It's still possible, but it's pretty unlikely overall that they will be sustained. So let's look at the some more products here. So here's the general arrival times. I like this one because it gives you a really good idea. Basically, anywhere with 5% chance or more of tropical storm force winds, it will highlight. So you have this circle because this storm is just kind of going to sit here. And you have basically when it'll make landfall Thursday night through um, Friday morning. And that's when the hurricane force winds will arrive. Tropical storm force winds will arrive for this area midday tomorrow. Midday tomorrow. And then evening. So, I mean, this is pretty. It doesn't tell you very much today since we're so close, but to landfall. But yeah, I also really like this wind history map. It gives you a nice idea of the intensity of the storm and its track, so you can see it started here near Cape Verde, and you have the yellowish tropical storm force winds, and the red is hurricane. So you can see it became a Category 4 hurricane along the. Look how thin that swath is. It weakened to a strong tropical storm, and all of a sudden you get this Category 4, bam, like right south of Bermuda. It starts to weaken, but as it weakens, look how big that swath of hurricane force winds gets, and you can see it's almost right up at the Carolina coast at this point. So it's pretty interesting actually how the wind spread out like this. Um, Storm surge. Let's look at this. I've never used this product before, but let's see. This map, blah, blah, blah. Oh, here we go. So this is actually quite interesting. So let's say we're looking at this area, which is near the Outer Banks. The red is like 10 feet or so storm surge, and then blue is 1 to 3 feet, yellow is like 5 to 8 or 5 to 6, and then orange is like 6 to 9, then red's like 10 to 12-ish feet of storm surge. You can see this is the Outer Banks. Water's just going to be continuously pushed in here into these inlets. Even the islands themselves, I mean, yeah, they could have some storm surge, but that's not a big deal because it's not going to be much. But look at this. You can see almost this whole mass of land right here is just covered in blue, orange, and yellow, and some red. That's basically saying that's going to be underwater. That's going to be part of the ocean. So just think about that, how that's going to be part of the ocean. and you just have that whole land. And yes, it is swampland. There isn't very much of a population there, but still, that's the power of this storm. And then you have down towards Wilmington, the coastal storm surge. Along the beach, you obviously have the normal like 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 8 feet storm surge and stuff. And then you have downtown Wilmington. This blue, this is normal area that has population to it. That's underwater. That's part of the ocean at this point. So you just have to kind of keep that in mind. The last really major thing that I want to touch on is the rainfall potential. And this is really where the southeastern PA, south central PA, this is really where it kind of affects us. Not super major way. So we can see we're right here near Harrisburg. We're an inch or two of rain. The system, it's going to be pretty weak at this point. It's not going to have as much moisture to work with. It could still drop some rain up here, up to an inch or two, but that's about it. It's not going to be some insane storm for us. But then once you get past the Virginia border, you start seeing, oh, well, there's 2 to 4 inches of rain. Then, oh, here's, once you get North Carolina, 4 to 6. And then you go down towards Wilmington and Wrightsville and the Emerald Isles and not Columbia, Myrtle Beach, and you're seeing 20 plus inches. Many forecast models giving this, basically making this East Coast equivalent of Hurricane Harvey, giving some regions up to 50 inches of rain. Now that's a ridiculous amount of rain, and that's life threatening. See how far inland this goes. You're not going to get storm surge out here in northern North Carolina and um, southern North Carolina and northern North Carolina over here. You're 100 miles from the ocean, but you're going to get 20 inches of rain. There's going to be flooding, and you just have to watch out for it. If you're in a low-lying area, then get out or go to the top floor of your house, move all your stuff to the top floor, because you're in a very high-risk area for flooding, and this could be catastrophic. And again, we could see some minor flooding along Pennsylvania and Virginia, mostly northeast. I mean, there will be more flooding as you get farther south towards the mountains, but for our region in Pennsylvania, North and Maryland and northeastern Virginia, you could get minor flooding because the soil is already so moist and filled with water. It's so saturated that really you can just get any amount of flooding from anything. And if there's a quick rain band that comes through, you could be seeing an inch in a few hours, and that will clog up everything, cause some flooding. We really don't have much to worry about other than maybe a rainy day. Here's I have one more slide after this, and then I will end this. Here's risk of flash flooding for this area. Again, we're not even in the marginal. We should be fine, honestly. But high risk, 50% chance of terrible flash flooding in North Carolina and South Carolina. Moderate extending farther westward, slight extending north and southward, and then marginal extending outside of there. So pretty much from South Carolina to southern PA and Maryland, you run the risk of getting flash flooding. And obviously, the farther north and south you go in either direction from the high risk, the lower it's going to get. But still, you're not out of the picture if you're up here or in southern or in Georgia or anywhere near there. Here's my last slide. And this is the SPC, I can't even remember the name of it, Storm Prediction Center. That's what it is. So you can see we have this little red box, and there's the marginal risks. So let's just click that real quick. So first, let's look at this. So there's a tornado watch in effect for eastern North Carolina. That's just basically highlighting the potential for spin-up tornadoes as the storm comes ashore, and the outer bands can spin up tornadoes because of friction with the ground and stuff. It's pretty common in this area. I'm not too worried about it because there's still a lot of water. There's not a huge population in this area, and they're going to be pretty weak. If there are any, they might get a few cool water spouts or something. course, there's nobody really there to see them. Here's a better picture of kind of what's going on. So you have like a moderate risk of tornadoes, but EF2 plus, you're not going to get those. Severe wind, I'm actually kind of surprised that they don't have severe wind up at high because it's a hurricane. I guess it doesn't really comply with the thunderstorm since it's a hurricane, not a thunderstorm. And then you have like very low for hail and stuff because you're not getting hail in hurricanes. There's the eye wall. This is kind of bad radar image, but there's the eye wall right there. It's actually pretty decent considering how weak the storm supposedly is, and radar scope is picking up decent wind readings within that, around 120 miles an hour. Of course, that's at a beam height, which is how high the radar beams are going to be transmitted and reading the atmosphere at, of about 4,000 feet. But with the heavy rain, that can bring that wind down to the surface, but you always have to kind of subtract 20, 30 miles an hour from it. Anyway, so that's kind of going to wrap things up. I don't really have anything else. So, in general, don't cancel anything if you're in Pennsylvania or anywhere based on this hurricane. We're fine. You don't need to get supplies. You're fine. If you're in Georgia or West Virginia or Maryland, you're fine. It's not really until you get Southern Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina that you're going to run into issues. So, anyway, so if I don't know if you've been typing in chat or not. I don't know. Because I'm on my phone. I apologize for not screen recording because I was going to, and my computer decided to not want to do things. And I apologize for all this background noise. There is a lawnmower going in my backyard. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I know I did get a few viewers. Yeah, cool. Thanks. Bye.